Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another SLG Meetup, all the way from Madrid. And for that, we're going to have our guest, Jake Havron. He's a business strategist and keynote speaker. He's been doing tremendous work with all kinds of individuals, especially on the real estate space, taking it from 0 to 100. So very exciting on how to transform yourself into someone that can tap into the luxury market and really dominate it. So very excited about having him here today, and I hope you get to enjoy it. Jake, my friend.
Hey, my man.
There he is. What's going on?
Great to be here, my friend. Great to be here. This has been long overdue, and being able to bring this value to the people here listening.
Indeed, the energy of Jake. He's the man. No, thank you for joining us, because obviously it's a pleasure to have you here in our podcast. You've done such a tremendous job with all your different clients, and the work that you put out there is so fascinating that I want you to share it with our audience and community. So welcome.
Yeah, it was just 5 years ago, Alvaro, where I was a nurse and I was helping people and saving their lives, but it was in a whole different vehicle. I had no business background. I had no understanding of personal development. I didn't know what that even really meant. I just kind of naturally just walked in the shoes of some sort of growth, but I wasn't consuming content, podcasts. I wasn't following people like you. And it just goes to show that within 5 years, you could live a completely different life, let alone 1 year, right? And it was that decision. It was that decision where, for me, I had a very personal breaking point where I was in the hospital helping people in the ER, and this guy came in who shouldn't have been there. He, had a heart attack, and it was definitely preventable. And I'm over here being a fitness guy. I'm like, dude, you're putting your family in so much, problem and pain because of this situation. But I saved his life, and that's what we had to do. And what really snapped me here, Alvaro, is after I helped him, and he saw his family, and I definitely at that point I knew he was never going to be there again. A couple months later, I was working the ER still, and the same guy came in with another heart attack.
Oh, wow.
And when I felt that and realized that, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to lose my calling of helping people and transforming their lives, but maybe I'm just on the wrong vehicle. Because you could be Lance Armstrong and be the greatest athlete in the world, but if you're riding a tricycle, you're going to get beat by average athletes that are riding Olympic bikes, and that's just a fact. And I was riding a tricycle at that point, and I love nurses, and nurses have a beautiful place in my heart, but that wasn't the vehicle I was meant to be on. And now here I'm today, where I'm able to speak on stages all over the world and work with Fortune 500 companies, work with realty companies that actually right after this, I'm going to be hopping on a training with a company doing, like almost 300 million, and just helping them, be more influential, be better at sales, and be able to help people transform their lives.
That's amazing. I'm so pleased to have you here, and I'm so happy for you for what you're doing, because it's about transforming people's lives. Because the moment that you transform someone's life, it's going to transform his or her environment. And I think that's how you really transform the world to be a better place. So what you're doing is fantastic. And your story, thank you for sharing that, because even the analogy of what you just said about the tricycle versus an Olympic bike, it's so funny, because I just got myself today a really top of the line bike for my next Ironman. And I was actually thinking the same way, like, doesn't matter if I train so good, if I have a shitty bike, I'm never going to be able to be at that high level. So this is the same thing in the all scenarios of what you're doing. You're helping people with those training programs to get themselves in the right path with the right vehicle, correct?
Absolutely. And a lot of your followers and people that are part of Super Luxury Group, or, have been following this company for a while, maybe the real estate sector is that Olympic bike that a lot of people have been wanting to get, right? Maybe you're listening right now and you just started a couple months ago or a few years ago or literally yesterday, but you've felt off with other things you were doing. Maybe you were in the corporate world, you were doing sales for another company, and finally this will be that bike. I just want to give that permission to step fully into that, because when I found my bike, which was, I started off as a personal trainer, right? And to go from nursing to personal training, you better believe I went through a lot of humiliation. People were like, you're going to give up that degree to go do this thing that doesn't pay you even close as much, and there's no health insurance and da-da-da-da-da. I was like, but I felt aligned with it. And I just took my passion. I worked hard. I was learning every day And, you know, 3-4 years later, like I said, I transitioned from personal training to online training, helping people over the world, started working with high-level entrepreneurs. The growth and contribution doesn't stop. And that's how I got into business consulting here today. So just if you're listening right now and you just got started in your position, or you're starting to build a team, maybe you're at that top point and now you're starting to have people under you that you're working with, just know that that is where you're meant to be. And if you put your passion behind it and obviously get tactical, which maybe we could get a little tactical here with some strategies, you're in the right place.
I agree with you. And what you said is so aligned with our values. You know, it's all about being passionate about what you do, because that's the first gear. That's what's going to help you ignite that, you know, fuel of wanting to go forward. However, sometimes you're going to go forward with that passion, but then you might not go in the right path, or you're not using the right vehicle. So that's why those trainings are important. And specifically talking about the luxury space, right? Because here at SLG, we emphasize a lot when it comes to high-end real estate, luxury lifestyle. So anybody that is tapping into that segment or that is already there, what are some of the techniques that you would suggest would be ideal to get started? Because I know you've been working with some top real estate teams as well.
Yeah, it's so good. You know, I'm going to be training on this right after. And we got to understand, we got to understand. So influence and being able to properly sell something is to the root core of why we're here today. So if you still have this limiting belief or this little resistance to sales, you have to understand that, especially if you live in America, and obviously probably people all over the world listening to this, but America is here today because people back before 1776 across the pond had to be influenced in this crazy new thought, this new idea that there's more freedom, that there's not taxation without representation, and that they can go across the world to go live a better life. Influence in sales was the only thing that allowed that. You are either going to influence your kids to do something or not do something. So I just want to make sure that, you know, we have to always sell something. We always have to sell a vision, a mission, a purpose. So going to, you know, luxury real estate and working with very, very high-end customers or prospects, or even, you know, houses in real estate, you got to understand that people still have emotional and logical reasons. And when you understand that no matter how big the product you're selling is, and that you are still dealing with a human, and the human is the one making decisions, that if you can find out what I learned this from my great mentor, Tony Robbins, it's they're urbans and lurbans. What does that mean? Urban is emotional reasons to buy now, ERBN. And then lurbin is logical reasons to buy now. If you can find a way, and this is what I train on, if you can find a way to understand what their emotional reasons are to buy that house now, not later, not putting it off, but now, there's always a deep down desire. And if we think, well, Jake, you know, this person, they don't even look at the place, you know, they have someone else doing it, you better believe they still have emotional reasons. And it's not your own reasons.
Yeah.
You might have your own reasons, but what are their reasons? Because everyone is emotionally driven. Even if you think that they're the most technical person, they're emotionally driven. So as you go into this business, understand that if you could really ask those questions, don't be afraid to probe a little bit and find the hurt and the pain, because that's why people move. That's why I left nursing to become what I am today, because I felt that pain, right? So
yes.
Do not be afraid of probing and finding that pain, because that's what makes people buy and move forward. An undisturbed prospect does not buy. And if you don't have the ability to go deep and figure out what those emotional reasons are, they will not buy and they will not move forward. They will probably go work with someone else that can better do that.
No, you're so on point. And what you just said is so true, especially when we're talking about high end, right? Because it's not so much anymore about the price, it's about the emotion. It's what really touch you inside. And you're right there. Some people just go try to shove that product on your face, and this is what you need to get. But in reality, it's about understanding the customer first, and it's about understanding the pain points and transition it that way. So, I mean, it's very interesting the way that you look into things. So I obviously encourage everybody that is watching this, or either now or later, to take a look at what Jake is doing, because it's phenomenal. And I definitely believe that a lot of the people that get into real estate, especially in the luxury space, is because they believe that, oh, you make a lot of money, but then they find themselves with all that passion of doing something, but then they don't know which direction to go. So it's about structuring yourself with the right tools in order to get forward. And I know I'm a big fan of what you're doing, so I'm very happy that we connected. And obviously, I look forward to doing some more things together. One of the things that I usually ask every of our guests is about luxury, right? The word luxury comes in so many different shapes and forms. And you coming from a very positive background, I really want to understand what is luxury to you.
Wow, that's a really good question. What comes right to mind is on the same topic of understanding the person's emotional needs, right? A luxury house, a $50 million house that you're selling in Miami could be luxury for one person, but it could be a complete headache for another person, right? The price tag, the amount of square footage, the amount of granite and marble used in there is not what makes it luxury. What makes luxury, what the word is that when you meet and over deliver to the standards of what those emotional logical reasons are, what that person wants. That's what luxury is. Living in a 2-bedroom house in a safer neighborhood could be luxury for someone comparatively to someone that's living on the ocean in a 10,000 square foot house, right? Luxury is what do they want with their emotional reasons, their deep down desires, and you meeting that as the person that is guiding them, as a realtor, as a salesperson, as a leader, as a coach, whoever you are. That's what luxury is to me.
I find that phenomenal. So thank you for sharing that. And it's good to hear, because sometimes we're so overwhelmed with all these people about luxury, and then it's all material, But when it comes to something that has that, which is something emotional, that's the true meaning. So thank you for sharing that. And I know you're also very busy and you have a lot of things coming up. So I just wanted to finalize this by asking you one last question. And if it is for our audience, a main takeaway from everything that you've been going through, what it will be that one takeaway of something that they can do today?
Yeah. Understand that you truly, and please listen to this. I know this could be very vanilla and mundane. You may have heard this 1,000 times, but my life has been an example of this the past 5 years, and it will be for the next 5 decades and onward. And it could be for you too. Understand that you are always one step, one person, one decision from a completely different life. We don't have time to go into very specific examples, but I'll tell you this right now. I have real examples in my own life of how one person, one decision completely changed my life. And that is the same for you. Do not underestimate what you can do in a day. Do not underestimate and downplay yourself that when you show up and wake up and you feel like crap or you don't have that energy, get up, because you never know who you can meet. You never know who's going to be on the other end of that phone. You never know who you're going to meet on social media. And that one interaction can completely change the trajectory. It won't be the next day. It could be, but it'll be that compound effect. So do not ever underestimate that fact that you're always one decision away from completely changing your life.
I love it. That's gold right there. And, I truly believe in it because it happened to me as well. I'm sure it has happened to a lot of people that are listening, and I'm sure it will happen to a lot of us listening here. So thank you for saying that, Jake. I really appreciate your time. I wish you nothing but the best, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.
Thank you so much for having me here, Alvaro.
Thank you. And if everybody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to go about it? Go onto your Instagram page?
Instagram. That's the best way, at Jake Havron. Shoot me a message if you heard us either on the live here or you're listening to the podcast replay. Just shoot me a message and say one thing that stood out to you, and I'd love to personally connect. I connect with every single person that messages me, so I'd love to see that. And I'll let Alvaro know too that you came through, so he loves hearing about those stories too.
Exactly, all good stories. But no, thank you again for your time, Jake. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and see you soon. Bye-bye.